Hi, it's Leslie Zemeckis back with another Write for Success. My guest this week is New York Times bestselling author Sally Hepworth. Her latest thriller is The Good Sister, which was an instant bestseller. It is about twin sisters Rose and Fern. The premise is one sister cannot become pregnant, and so the other sets out to help her. As payback, the book switches back and forth between both sisters narrating the story, and you will not know who to trust. I don't want to tell you too much, but Hepworth is a clever author, and here she is with her writing tips. See you back here next week.
Hi, I'm Sally Hepworth. I'm the author of 6 novels, most recently The Good Sister, which you can see behind, which just debuted on the New York Times bestseller list. And I'm here to tell you 3 tips about writing. And I will probably start with something that sounds a little bit counterintuitive and sounds a little bit depressing. But my first tip is to make it worse. And what do I mean by that? What do I mean make it worse? Make your manuscript worse? No. I mean to make the problem worse. So take a premise. Say that you have got, and this could apply to any premise. It may be for a thriller, it may be for a horror, it may be for a romance. Let's say it's a romance, for example. You have a woman who is in love with someone who is unattainable. Well, why is that person unattainable? Maybe they're married. We've seen that before. That's certainly an obstacle, an impediment, but at least if it's set in this day and age, divorce is not the end of the world. It happens all the time. It's not the same as if it had been 100 years ago. So really, is that enough of an obstacle? Maybe yes, but according to my tip of make it worse, what else could we do? And by make it worse, I don't mean anyone has to die. I mean that let's make the challenge bigger. What if he is not only married, but he's married to someone you love, your sister, your best friend? All of a sudden, that challenge is a little bit harder. The goal for the reader is going to be to unite that woman with the man that she loves. And here we go. Now we've got a bigger obstacle for them. It might just mean that it could be anything that makes the goal, the end result of the book, that little bit more unlikely. Now, don't confuse this with trauma mining, which I see a lot in books these days, and sometimes it's warranted if the subject matter is really dark. But in other times, you read a book and bad things continue to happen. You think you're just discovering, recovering from one death and someone else has died. I don't think that it is that bad things have got to happen continually throughout the book. That's not what I mean when I say make it worse. I mean, let's make that obstacle. Let's make the obstacles against the character, or let's make the chances of them achieving their goal just that little bit more unlikely. It doesn't have to be bad things happening to them again and again. Bad things can happen in novels. That happens all the time. But, be delicate with what you choose. The next thing, which sounds again like the opposite of what I just said, but is to build in small wins for your character. Because as we've said in the first one, you want to make it worse. You want to make their goals seem, completely insurmountable. You want to make their challenges big. It feels like they're never going to achieve true happiness. And yet, is that a book that we want to read about? Maybe yes, because we want to root for a character. We want them to, we feel for people who are the underdog, for sure. But we can also get quite tired if we're waiting the whole book for them to achieve that, especially if it's looking more and more unlikely. And so what is a really good thing to do, again, across the genres, for helping the reader really enjoy the book and feel connected and feel like they're going on the journey, is to build in some small wins for your main character. Maybe they won't get the man of their dreams in the first quarter of the book, but what happens if something happens that, maybe in that period she has a real connection moment with him, or maybe she finds out that, I don't know, her sister, that's my dog snoring, is unhappily married and thinking about, or maybe she's having an affair. they're not great examples of it. If, for example, I always think of the Hunger Games, which is one of, at least on the surface, the most bleak sounding ideas for a novel. There are a bunch of children under 18 fighting to the death. Only one of them gets to live. And yet along the way, we see Katniss Everdeen, the heroine of the novel, having these little wins even when she's in the arena. There are moments where she does get that bow and arrow that we know that she gives her a real chance to make it to the end. There's the time that she connects with Peter, you know, and they think to themselves that they're going to be able to both win. There are just little wins along the way that really help connect the character and the reader together. And that's something I try and lace into every book, just to give that reader a little fist pumping moment. So that's my second tip. Make it worse, but build in small wins along the way. And my final tip is do you. And when I say that, I'm talking about your process. I have got a very specific process to writing. It's quite chaotic, which is ironic because I do plan, but then I throw out my plan and then I go back, I try and plot things along as I go. And that process does not work for a lot of my writing friends. I have a very good friend who says that if she knows what's going to happen, she's bored. It takes the fire out of the writing process for her, and she doesn't want to continue. For me, I need to plan or I will never get anywhere. Every writer has got into writing because of some fire they have felt inside them for writing. And my best advice is to connect to that. You know, is it the planning and then executing that really lit that fire in you? Is it just letting the words lead you where you want to go? Is that what lit the fire? Find the fire, because I always find that whenever you meet a writer who's feeling a bit dejected, feeling a little bit like they've lost the love of the writing, that's when you find that their novels are starting to feel a little bit less fresh, feel a little bit less exciting. So do you connect to your process, do it the way that makes you feel happy and excited and to enjoy writing, and you will write that much more and you will write that much better. I hope these tips have been useful to you. I'm going to go and check out all the other tips from the other authors and get writing. I hope you enjoy these tips. Have a great day.